The people of Ukraine rise against Zelensky's government. Partisans begin the hunt for the regime's enforcers. These are the military political news for February 4th. The main topic of today's video is the civil war in Ukraine and the factors that may influence it. We will discuss the latest updates and then move on to our traditional analysis of the frontline battles. Before we begin, I sincerely ask you to subscribe to the channel. Your subscription helps the channel grow. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Armed incident in Poltava region. On February 1st, in the city of Hrebinka, Poltava region, an unknown man approached a military commissar who was escorting a group of mobilized Ukrainian citizens, apparently by force. Threatening him with a hunting rifle, the man demanded that the Territorial Recruitment Center (TRC) officer hand over his weapon. The military commissar refused, prompting the man to shoot him, take the weapon and flee, taking one of the conscripts with him, presumably a relative. The military commissar died on the spot, and later both the shooter and his companion were apprehended by the police. Many Ukrainian bloggers have commented on the incident, calling for tougher conscription measures and granting the TRC more powers. Representatives of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, also issued statements. Partisans has opened Pandora's box. I state openly, I have an award weapon, I know how to use it, and some draft-dodging scum wants to take it from me. I'm waiting. Warning, I will shoot without hesitation. I demand that all TRC and Ministry of Internal Affairs patrols be mandatorily armed with firearms. I demand that TRC personnel be allowed to use their service weapons without warning in cases of disrespect, threats to life or health. The National Police of the Poltava region is urging a swift resolution of this crime. Public reaction and crackdown. In the comments under news posts, many have expressed support for the man who saved his relative, arguing that TRC officers got what they deserved. Meanwhile, media figures who defend the regime have noted that the people side with an ordinary man rather than the army. Authorities are now monitoring all accounts gloating over the military officer's death. Those abroad are to be banned, flagged as suspects, and gradually extradited via Interpol. Those in Ukraine will face priority prosecution for undermining the country's defense capabilities. Additionally, Ukrainian media outlets report mass SMS messages urging people to burn down TRC buildings across Ukraine. Former Zelensky administration official Oleksiy Arestovich, recognized as an extremist and terrorist in Russia, commented, Ukraine has already lost the war, and it must be acknowledged. Political turmoil and NATO's plans. A former Zelensky administration representative has warned that if Ukraine does not undergo changes, a civil war will erupt. He stated that no restructuring of the TRC or military adjustments will help anymore. Denying a ceasefire will not work either. Elections will take place. Trump will negotiate with Putin and Xi Jinping without consulting us, because those who are delusional and refuse to accept reality are not asked for their opinion. It's pointless. We lost the war due to our stupidity, arrogance, and stubbornness. Most importantly, we lost to ourselves. We created a society of mutual hatred and intolerance, where everyone is right individually, but collectively, we are all guilty. There is no way out of this situation except to recognize defeat, acknowledge our full personal and collective responsibility, and admit that from the very beginning, since 1991, our policies have been flawed and could never have led to any other outcome. The boiling point in Ukraine is near. The people cannot endure Zelensky's oppressive, slave-driving regime forever, where some thrive while others perish in droves. Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service at NATO headquarters is increasingly considering a regime change in Ukraine. Zelensky has repeatedly stated that a ceasefire would be his downfall, as he would not be re-elected. If a ceasefire occurs, elections will follow immediately, and the people will not forgive him for the destruction, losses, and forced conscription. Therefore, NATO leadership wants to freeze the conflict by initiating dialogue for resolution. Washington and Brussels agree that Zelensky is the main obstacle to this scenario. Ideally, NATO would like to remove him through pseudo-elections, possibly in the fall. To discredit Zelensky, NATO plans to release information about the misappropriation of $1.5 billion allocated for military aid. Additionally, they will expose how Zelensky and his inner circle siphoned off the salaries of 130,000 dead Ukrainian soldiers who are still listed as active. NATO also plans to reveal Kiev's involvement in arms sales to militant groups in Africa. The FBI director, appointed by Trump, has hinted at potential investigations into Zelensky's corruption, as it is now widely known that massive sums were stolen. Since Zelensky is the head of this money-making corporation, he is directly implicated. Both Europe and the US are subtly signaling to Zelensky that his time is up. However, Zelensky understands that any decision he makes leads to his downfall. Military situation on the front. Now, let's examine the frontline situation, southern Donetsk direction. Near Kurakov, fierce battles continue to close the pocket in Andriivka. In the area of Dakna, which is 50% controlled by Russian forces, intense fighting is underway. The UAF is gradually losing ground due to the inability to supply the settlement. Heavy clashes are also occurring on the outskirts of Andriivka. Further north, Russian troops have entered Zaporizhia, near Nova Andriivka, and are expanding their zone of control. Near Nova Yelizavetivka, footage shows a UAF BMP attempting to evacuate troops. The vehicle approached a shelter, soldiers tried to enter, but just as the hatch opened, a strike occurred. Full footage is available on my Telegram channel. The BMP later retreated, but drone strikes finished off the survivors. Pokrovsk and Toretsk areas. Near Pokrovsk, fierce fighting continues, but additional details are unavailable. After the fall of Toretsk, Russian forces have expanded their control in Berezivka, advancing through rural roads and wooded areas. By moving into the rear of the UAF group in Zoraya, Russian forces may achieve success. The Russian Federation now faces a choice. 1. Cut off the pocket in Pokrovsk. 2nd, advance towards Minohrad for tactical encirclement. Chasiv Yar and Siversk directions. In Chasiv Yar, intense clashes persist. The UAF is attempting counterattacks near Siversk, where Russian troops have entered Verkhnokamianska. Drone footage shows precision strikes on UAF positions and vehicles. Battles continue near Bilahora, crucial for advancing toward Hrihorivka and Serhivka en route to Kliman. Last week's offensive has not yielded significant gains yet, but steady advances are recorded. Kupiansk and Sumy directions. Several strongpoints near Kupiansk have been captured, expanding Russia's bridgehead. Forces near Zakidne are positioning for a tactical encirclement of Kupiansk. In Sumy, drone intelligence identified a UAF command post. A false command center was above ground, while the real one was underground. An Iskander missile struck at the precise moment of a meeting. And finally, I would like to touch upon one more topic with you. Ukraine has agreed to grant the US access to its reserves of strategically important minerals such as lithium and uranium in exchange for military aid from the United States, the New York Times reports. On Monday, President Donald Trump stated that he wants to strike a deal with Ukraine under which Kiev would supply the US with rare earth minerals in exchange for American assistance. Trump's proposal comes amid his administration's decision to freeze foreign financial aid worldwide. This move has forced many humanitarian organizations in Ukraine to suspend their operations and has pushed the Ukrainian government to seek alternative funding sources for critical programs, including support for damaged energy infrastructure and aid for war veterans. By showing interest in Ukraine's rare earth resources, Trump has picked up on an initiative originally proposed by Zelensky, who in recent months has sought to gain the support of the new administration in Washington. Zelensky has emphasized that aid to Ukraine aligns with US economic interests, as the country possesses large reserves of strategically important minerals that could strengthen American industry. Commenting on Trump's statement, a senior Ukrainian official said that Kyiv is ready to cooperate with the US in the rare earth minerals sector, but only on the condition of receiving reliable security guarantees to prevent these resources from falling into Russian hands. Ukrainian authorities claim that the country has deposits of more than 20 types of critically important rare earth minerals. Some analytical and investment firms estimate their value at several $1 trillion. However, experts warn that accurately assessing these resources is difficult, as a significant portion of the deposits remains inaccessible. partly because some Ukrainian territory is no longer under its control and is occupied by Russian forces. Late last year, Ukraine planned to sign an agreement with the Biden administration on joint extraction and processing of minerals. However, Ukrainian authorities postponed the signing, which, according to sources on both sides, indicated that they were waiting for Trump to take office and looking to finalize a deal with him instead. In December, a Ukrainian delegation met with American businessmen in Washington, presenting potential investment projects, including the possibility of acquiring mining licenses for critical minerals, either directly or through partnerships with existing license holders. This information is contained in a presentation by the Ukrainian government, which the New York Times reviewed. However, it remains unclear how quickly and effectively Ukraine will be able to finalize such deals. At a conference in Kyiv last week, Ukrainian business leaders and lawmakers emphasized that a significant amount of exploration work is still needed to accurately assess the country's mineral reserves. The publication concludes that the advance of Russian troops on the front has allowed Moscow to gain control over significant deposits of rare earth minerals in Ukraine, as well as move closer to other deposits. Currently, Russian forces are less than 7 miles away from a major lithium deposit in the southeastern part of the Donetsk region. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Thank you for supporting the channel. See you tomorrow.